What are the 17 things I like and dislike on DJI NEO when creating content for my channel, which, as you know, is mainly about me riding a bike. Now, for the 17 things that I like and dislike, let's start with the things that I like first on the DJI NEO. First and foremost, it is a very small and compact drone, and you don't have to unfold it. You just take it out, clip in the battery, and off you go. You're flying within seconds, taking the footage that you need. So for me, this is absolutely practical. Thing number 2 that I like, it's sturdy, it's solidly built, it's well protected, and it's crash resistant. And I've crashed the drone a couple of times already during my initial tests, and nothing really happened to it. Nothing really happened at all. The thing number 3 I like is the predefined quick shots. The predefined quick shots save a lot of hassle. It's basic movements, it's predefined, I know that. Many of you will say, okay, but how can you use this constantly over and over and over again? Well, you can for a decent B-roll that you need to shoot for your videos, for your films, for your vlogs. It's practical because it gives you all you need, really. Thing number 4 that I like. This technology, this piece of kit is so much easy to use. It's well thought, it's good ergonomics, it's only 2 buttons on the drone as well, and anyone can really use that. I love it. For this reason, I really do love that, because it makes life so much easy. And the fact that you don't have to use controller for the basic quick shots, it's just an added bonus. Thing number 5 I like, it's the time to get it up in the air and flying. As I said, it's a matter of seconds, tens of seconds maximum to get it up in the air and start shooting. That's a big help for me when doing organized motorbike rides, tours, and or when I am traveling alone as well, because it saves time. It's not a hassle to use that drone. Thing number 6 that I like is all the follow and tracking functions that it gives you, despite its limitations. I love that. If you would have told me 5, 10 years ago, 15 years ago that there will be a piece of kit for less than 200 euros to grab that will automatically look on you and follow you, I wouldn't believe that. So despite its limitations, I know it could be, the drone could do faster and it could do better and all that. From the basic functionality, you put it up in the air and you use it as a flying tripod, and it moves as you move, and it tracks you when you walk or when you ride your bike. This is lovely, this is perfect, I love that. Thing number 7 I like. Look, the fact that it can be hooked with the controller, for example with my RC2 controller, it's added bonus. You can fly the drone like any other drone, and if you need to get an aerial footage, you get the aerial footage. How cool is that? So with single drone you can do much more than just predefined movements and some basic tracking at a distance no more than 5 to 10 meters. It's great to have that option to fly it in the manual and sport modes with the controller. Thing number 8 I like is when the drone takes off and when it lands on the palm of your hand, I can use my motorbike gloves. I don't have to take them off for the drone to be able to take off and land on the palm of my hand. The thing number 9 I like is it just puts a smile on my face. Whenever I'm using it, it's not a hassle, it's just a big smile on my face again and again and again. It's such a lovely thing to use, it looks good, it just behaves as it should most of the time, sometimes it misbehaves. It's such a fun drone to use. Now we switch to the things that I don't like. Number 10, in no particular order, is the default EV, sharpness and ISO settings for the quickshot modes that you cannot change. We would need to have the sharpness down a little bit and the EV compensation down a little bit, because the drone tends to overexpose and over sharpen. Everything else you can somehow fix in the post-production, but at least if these two settings for the future firmware updates could be set for the quickshot modes just in the DJI Fly app and stay there applied to all the quickshots, that would be a massive help. Right now, if you hook the controller to it, you can change those settings, but they will only be there when the controller is connected to the drone. But you will not have those settings when the controller is disconnected. The thing number 11 on the list, now we are doing the list of things that I don't like, is that the camera in the drone could do with a little bit of an upgrade. Look, it's not the worst one, it's not the best one either. It works, it gives decent footage, I'm not complaining, and if you use ND filters or circular polarizer, you could squeeze out from the camera what you need. But with the default, with the quality of the camera, possibly with the small sensor, you have to make sure that you are flying in the good light conditions to get a decent footage, otherwise it's grainy and over sharpened. And for the DJI product, the camera could have been just a tiny little bit better. Thing number 12. Look, I know it's a value for money, but it still would be handy if it would have at least some basic logic for obstacle avoidance. It follows your path, it doesn't cut the corners short, but it follows you completely and utterly blind. So if there is a branch here and there sticking out of the tree, the drone sees it and it would just crash direct into it, as you could see in one of my videos. So I went a little bit to the side and up, and the drone literally copied my movements, not being aware that there is a tree that it will ultimately hit, and it did hit it. If there just would be some basic sensors, LiDAR sensors, in the front just to avoid the most obvious obstacles, it would have made life so much easier and possibly would have avoided quite a few crashes here and there. Number 13 of the things that I don't like is it could do with a little bit of faster tracking. Not by much, tiny bit. Right now the drone is able to perfectly track you up until 30 to 35 kilometers an hour, where the 35 kilometers is the upper limit. If the upper limit would be 40 and it would do conveniently 35 kilometers an hour in the follow mode, that would be absolutely fab. But unfortunately, the follow mode has some limits. You have to be really careful with that. But look, we will discuss who this drone is for when we finish the list, okay? But it's a limitation, but despite that, you can still use the drone perfectly to get some decent footage. Thing number 14 on the list, which I don't like, is the lack of almost any flight automations from the remote controller. So if you have the drone in the quick shot modes and you have your controller RC2 in my case hooked to it, and you want to make the drone a little bit more up and a little bit more further away and maybe a little bit sideways, you can't do that. Plus, you can't really automate the flight much or at all. I need to explore a little bit more on this sense, but literally most of these flight automations that you are used to with the more advanced drones are not there. And it would be just great if it was there as an option. I can live with that, because again, value for money, but it's a thing that is a little bit annoying. Thing number 15 on the list. And we're still going through the list of things that I don't like. Look, the quality of the sound recording via the DJI Fly App is not really good. It was always a little bit muffled, so literally I stopped using that completely. It just doesn't make any sense. Just do your master audio with something else, do visual cues, synth the footage in the post-pro using markers. I then assemble the multicam clip that I can easily edit then and switch between cameras, because I usually use more than one camera to shoot from different angles, and it's all good after that. Don't use the audio capturing it with the DJI Fly App. It's just not good. It's just not any good. Thing number 16 on the list that could do some improvement. And I don't know how. I am aware that it is a tiny drone and it probably has a small antennas, but the satellite reception and how fast the drone is able to connect to the satellites could also do a little bit of improvement. It takes ages for the drone to connect to sufficient number of satellites, and when it doesn't have enough satellite connections for the GPS, and when it is at the same time in a low light condition and not really well textured surface somewhere on a tarmac road, not a good visibility, flying above the tarmac surface, so the bottom sensors, all they see is basically nothing well textured, it's just gray, black, whatever tarmac. It would help massively if the satellite connectivity would be there faster. Of course, you can get around that. You just wait a little bit more before all the satellites connect and it has sufficient GPS signal. Thing number 17, final thing that I dislike, is the absence of the return to home function. Some sort of emergency return to home function when flying just with your phone, the DJI Fly App. This is not the case for the controller. The controller sets the GPS location for returning to home. You can set the safety height that it has to follow to return to home. It's all there. It's just not on the DJI Fly App when you connect to the drone via Wi-Fi, and it is a little bit of a flaw. You have to be careful with that. You lose the signal to the drone will just stop doing anything, stop responding to anything. It just hovers on a single place up until the battery runs out and lands exactly on that spot where it was. So unless you manage to reconnect to the drone somehow, it will land wherever. Wherever means even if it's above water or in the wrong place, really, you will most likely lose the drone. Wherever possible, just avoid flying with the DJI Fly App on your phone at all, or just keep it at fairly shorter distances, 15-20 meters. Technically, it should be able to do more, but from the practical tests that I've done, I wouldn't trust it beyond 20 meters, to be honest. Okay, so that was the list of 17 things that I both like and dislike. Now, was the purchase worth it? Yes, absolutely. At the same time, what I want to say, the drone is not for everyone. And if your expectations are that you will set on a trail with your motorbike, you will fly through that trail at 50, 60, 40 kilometers an hour. If your expectation is the drone will track you for 10-15 minutes, you riding a trail, no, it will not. You will most likely lose it fairly quickly. But if you want to get a 30-second footage of you riding on a trail for your B-roll to spice up your other camera angles, it's a good drone for you. But you need to be realistic about the use case. In follow mode and in the direction track mode, the speed, it's not the best. And compared to the original firmware, with the new firmware, the speed's massively improved and the tracking massively improved. I was able to test that because when I got the drone, it was still on the original firmware before that update. And I only updated it then after the first tests, and the tracking was just beyond recognition, really, okay, beyond recognition. But it's still not a racing drone to follow you in all the quirky details and fast speeds. It's not. The other thing is, it's not a drone that will be in the air for half an hour. 10 to 12 minutes. So the flight time is limited and the speed is limited. You have to be aware of that. But other than that, I absolutely love that. And as a flying cameraman, as something that can help me while traveling, you know, I don't have to do any flipping up the drone or setting it up, nothing. I just take it out from the storage box, put it in the air, get the footage, and off I go again. From this sense, for me, for the way and for the things that I want to use with the drone, it was a good purchase. And I will possibly either get another Neo, just in case I lose one when touring, especially when doing the long distance tour that I plan for 2025, or I may do the following tests and consider buying the upcoming DJI Flip drone that will come, I think, next week. If you found this video useful, I know you will also find useful the 3 videos in the playlist that I've made testing it out and about when riding my bike. Go and check them out. See you next time.